You're on mute, Anasuya. You know, Mother, I've never got on Zoom on the cell phone. I'm actually on the altar dressing, trying to multitask here. So please accept my humble obeisance, Shri Prabhupada. Welcome, devotees, to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning, we will actually be hearing from Mother Gita on the glories of Lord Nrsimhadev. And today, being Nrsimha Chaturdasi, the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev, it's very opportune, perfect timing for us to hear the glories of Lord Nrsimhadev so that we can prepare our mindset throughout the day as we go through our daily activities today and prepare for our evening program. So without further delay, Mother, it's all yours.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Haribol 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol Jayam Vishnupad Paramahams Parivrajapacharya Stotra Shat Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nanda Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jadvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय संवेद भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. Glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraid Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Nrsimhadev Bhagwan Ki Jai. Today is a very, very auspicious day, especially for us devotees, because it is the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Nrsimhadev is also known as Bhakti Vigna Vinasaka, someone who removes the obstacles from the lives of the devotees. So for devotees, this day is very, very important in our spiritual lives. Now, I'm sure most of you or all of you have heard about the beautiful pastime of Nrsimhadev, of Prahlad Maharaj. And also we heard in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, how the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay, they were cursed. And because of that curse, of course, that was Krishna's plan. Krishna wanted, to have his devotees come down to this earthly planet when he was, going to come down for, to help him in his pastimes as his enemies. So we've heard that, pastime of Jay and Vijay being cursed. I was, reading the transcription of His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj's lecture on Lord Narasimhadev. And it was very interesting. I read something that I had not heard before. And he was talking about how the 4 Kumaras, sons of Lord Brahma, they cursed Jay and Vijay. And he quoted Shiva Puran. He said in Shiva Puran, it is mentioned that when Hiranyaksha, when Jay and Vijay came as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, the 4 Kumaras also came, and they came as the sons of Hiranyakashipu. And that was the time when the Supreme Lord appeared as Lord Narasimhadev, the 4th incarnation. And when Jay and Vijay appeared as Ravana and Kumbhakaran, the 4 Kumaras appeared as Vibhishan, Hanuman, etc. And the Supreme Lord appeared as Lord Ramachandra at that time. Now, when Jay and Vijay came, as Shishupal and Dantavakra, the 4 Kumaras came as Akrura and, other devotees. And that is the time, of course, the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, appeared in his original form. So this was something, the knowledge that I received from Maharaj's lecture, which I had not heard before, and very, very interesting. So we can see that the 4 Kumaras, even though they cursed Jay and Vijay, and of course, they even realized that was, the plan of Lord Sri Krishna. So they also came down, to be part of those pastimes. So today we are hearing about Lord Narasimhadev. We are going to hear about Prahlad Maharaj, and of course, how can we forget Hiranyakashipu? Now, from Srimad Bhagavatam, we learn from this pastime that Hiranyakashipu, he performed great austerities, standing on one leg, or actually on the tip of his, toes, and also, with the hands up and, performing this great austerity. There was a goal in mind for him. He wanted to become immortal. He did not want to die. And pleased with his austerities, Lord Brahma appeared and asked him, what boon do you want? So he said, I don't want to die. And Lord Brahma said, well, I also have to die after my 100 years. So how can I give you that boon? So Hiranyakashipu, he thought that he is very intelligent. And so he, asked a boon that I should not be killed by a man or an animal, by any weapons, neither in the morning nor in the night, neither inside nor outside, etc., etc. He thought he had covered all the bases. And so Lord Brahma said, Tathastu. And so Hiranyakashipu became very, very proud that, oh, I have this boon. That means no one can ever kill me. And so he, became very, very mean. He started troubling, the people. He started, expecting that everyone should think that he is God now. But he forgot that while he was performing austerities, his child in the womb of his wife was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Narad Muni. And that is Prahlad Maharaj. He was hearing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam and was a pure devotee of the Lord. So we can see from the Srimad Bhagavatam that Prahlad Maharaj, he was so pure that even at the age of 5, he was able to preach Krishna consciousness. I remember hearing from my spiritual master that the preaching is effective to the degree the devotee is pure. So purity is very, very important. Just like Srila Prabhupada says, purity is the force. Preaching is the essence, of course, but purity is the force. So if we are not practicing what we are preaching, then our preaching has very little effect on the others to whom we are preaching. So here we see Prahlad Maharaj, such a pure devotee. Even at the age of 5, he was able to preach to the students in the Gurukul, even though his teacher, Chanda and Amarka, were trying to teach him about politics, administration, etc. But Prahlad Maharaj was not disturbed at all. He continued his mission of spreading Krishna consciousness even at the age of 5. Now we've seen in Srimad Bhagavatam that when Hiranyakashipu, wants to know what is his son learning in the school, what are the teachers teaching him in school. And, so what did Prahlad Maharaj say? He said, there's a beautiful verse in 7th canto, chapter 5, verse 23 and 24, where it says, Shri Prahlada Vacha, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Pada Sevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam, Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu, Bhaktis Chennava Lakshana, Kriyate Bhagavate Adha Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. And the translation by Srila Prabhupada, excuse me, Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him, or in other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Now, when Prahlad Maharaj said this, Hiranyakashipu was furious. Like, he thought Prahlad Maharaj would say, excuse me, that, one should worship my father, Hiranyakashipu, one should chant the holy names of Hiranyakashipu, etc., etc. But he was very, very furious. But we can see Prahlad Maharaj, what lesson is he giving us? That these 9 processes of devotional service, if performed, then that person, devotee, is considered to be most learned. So when Hiranyakashipu heard this, he threw Prahlad Maharaj from his lap and said, kill him. He tried all different means of, all different methods to kill Prahlad Maharaj. Now we've heard all the different methods that he tried, but Prahlad Maharaj was untouched. Why? Because he was protected by Krishna. Rakhe Krishna mare Krishna rakhe ke. So anyone who Krishna wants to kill, no one can protect. And anyone whom Krishna wants to protect, no one can kill. So here Prahlad Maharaj was under the protection of Lord Krishna. So we see that Prahlad Maharaj was so fearless. He had complete firm faith in Krishna, in Krishna's protection. He was not worried at all. And here Hiranyakashipu was getting angry that what is it that's giving you the strength? What is it that is protecting you from all these atrocities that I am, putting on you, what is it? And what was Prahlad Maharaj's response? Well, the strength that I'm getting is from the same place you are getting this strength. So Hiranyakashipu wanted to know, who is that? From where? He said, Narayana, Lord Vishnu. That is where everyone gets the strength. And that was, you can say, the last straw for Hiranyakashipu. He couldn't take it anymore. And he got really mad, so angry. So he asked Prahlad Maharaj, where is your Vishnu? Prahlad Maharaj said, he's all pervading. He is everywhere. He's in you, he's in me, he's everywhere. Where is he? Everywhere. So Hiranyakashipu, he looked at the pillar, he said, is he over here? And Maharaj said that when Prahlad Maharaj looked at the pillar, he saw Narasimhadev. And he was confident. He said, yes, he's in the pillar also. And we know how Hiranyakashipu, he went to, break that pillar with a club. Now, as soon as he did that, Hiranyakashipu appeared. Now one may say, he could have appeared from anywhere else. Why did he appear from the pillar? To prove his devotee's words. His devotee Prahlad Maharaj had said, yes, my Lord is in that pillar. So to prove that statement, Lord Narasimhadev appeared from the pillar. Now in the 7th canto, chapter 8, verse 18, there is a very nice description of what Hiranyakashipu saw. What was that vision that he had when Lord Narasimhadev appeared from the pillar? This is a beautiful verse. It says, while Hiranyakashipu looked all around to find the source of the sound, there was a big tumultuous sound when the Lord appeared. That wonderful form of the Lord, which could not be ascertained to be either a man or a lion, emerged from the pillar. In amazement, Hiranyakashipu wondered, what is this creature that is half man and half lion? Now, Hiranyakashipu was very confused. He actually was fearful too, even though he did not appear to be afraid, but he was very afraid because he had not seen such a form before. Now, we don't have time to, go into the description of, this beautiful form of Lord Narasimhadev, but what is important is to understand, why did the Lord appear in the form that he appeared? It is not only to fulfill the statement of Prahlad Maharaj that he can appear from the pillar, but also to keep the boon that was given by Lord Brahma. What was the boon given? That Hiranyakashipu cannot be killed by a man or a lion. That's why he came as half man, half lion. So neither a man nor an animal. Then he said that, he asked for a boon that I should not be killed, whether it's in the morning or in the night. So it was the dusk time in between. I should not be killed inside or outside. And that is when Hiranyakashipu took, of course, there was a great fight between the two of them for a very long time. Hiranyakashipu tried very hard with all different weapons to kill Lord Narasimhadev. But everything went in vain. There was no way he could kill. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so he also asked for a boon that I should not be killed by any weapon. So Lord Narasimhadev had to appear in the form of half lion, because the lions, they have, those very, very sharp nails, that can really pierce through the body and, pull it apart. So Lord Narasimhadev picked up Hiranyakashipu, went to the it was neither inside, outside, was on the door, where we cross, go from inside to outside. He sat down there, put Hiranyakashipu on his lap, and did the first open heart surgery. Now you see, the operation was successful, but the patient died. Why? Because that is what Hiranyakashipu deserved. So Lord Narasimhadev, he kept the promise of Lord Brahma, the boon that was given by Brahma, so that, the name devotee Brahma's name is not, untrue, does not come untrue. So we see here that Hiranyakashipu, he thought he was so intelligent that he had covered all the bases so that he would not be killed. But he didn't know that the Supreme Lord is more intelligent. He thought he could cheat the Lord, but no one can cheat the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see, as soon as Hiranyakashipu was killed, the Supreme Lord Narasimhadev was in a very angry mood. It was difficult for the demigods to pacify him. And then Lord Brahma, he approached Prahlad Maharaj. He said, you go and you pacify the Supreme Lord. And Prahlad Maharaj was fearless. That is what Srila Prabhupada says. Krishna consciousness movement helps us to become fearless, not be afraid of even death. Devotees are not afraid because they are fully dependent on Krishna. So when Prahlad Maharaj approached Hiranyakashipu, he offered beautiful prayers. He says, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Narasimhadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demoniac-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. You see, that is a beautiful prayer, praying to Lord Narasimhadev that just like with your lotus-like nails, you killed Hiranyakashipu, you please kill these demon-like desires which are there in our hearts, which, these desires of fruitive work. I will do this and then I will enjoy the fruits of this activity. So he's praying, even though Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee, he's still praying, showing us by example how we should pray to the Supreme Lord to please vanquish all demon-like desires for fruitive work from our hearts. And then he continues, please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. So what do we learn from this prayer? First of all, to remove all the demon-like desires from our hearts. Secondly, he's requesting, praying to the Lord, please appear in our hearts and remove all ignorance. Now, there is a saying, God helps those who help themselves. So if we want the Lord to remove ignorance from our hearts, then we also have to make an effort. And what is that effort? To take on knowledge, to read Srila Prabhupada's books, because Srila Prabhupada's books, they are full of nectar. Especially his purports are full of nectar. They help us to remove the darkness of ignorance from our hearts. And then the next point he's talking about is, remove all that so that we become fearless. Even Prahlad Maharaj is indicating to us through this prayer that it's important that we become fearless. And that fearlessness will come only when we follow all the instructions given to us by Srila Prabhupada, follow all the instructions given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And then the final point Prahlad Maharaj points out is that fearless in the struggle for existence in the material world. That means when we are in this material world, there will be struggle for existence. Struggles can be of different kinds. It could be struggle of the body, which means, medical issues. It could be struggle of the mind. It could be struggle, to make ends meet. It could be struggle at work. It may be struggle with the family. It could be any kind of struggle, but struggles are part of material world. Why is it that Srila Prabhupada gave us Krishna consciousness? So that we can get rid of this struggles in the material world and go to a place, Vaikuntha, where there are no anxieties, where there are no struggles, where there are no problems, but there is permanent happiness. So here we see that Prahlad Maharaj's prayer is so very powerful. Of course, there are more verses, in this canto, which, Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Narasimhadev, but the gist of it is that today, such an auspicious day for us devotees to take shelter of Lord Narasimhadev's lotus feet. Of course, we should do this every day. Why did Srila Prabhupada teach us to pray to Lord Narasimhadev every day after Mangal Aarti? Sing the Narasimha prayers, Namaste Narasimhaya, so that we can be conscious of Lord Narasimhadev on a daily basis. Pray to him, please help me progress in my spiritual life. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he also has a prayer for Lord Narasimhadev. He says, within my sinful heart, imagine if the pure devotee Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, my sinful heart, imagine what is the condition of our hearts. I'm talking about myself. He says, within my sinful heart, the 6 enemies headed by lust perpetually reside, as well as duplicity, the desire for fame, plus sheer cunning. I hope that he, that is God, will mercifully purify my heart and give me the desire to serve Lord Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, weeping, he says, I will beg at the lotus feet of Lord Narasimha for the benediction of worshipping Radha and Krishna in Navadvip, perfectly safe and free from all difficulties. This is also a beautiful prayer, praying to Lord Narasimhadev that please help me to worship Radha and Krishna. Please keep me safe. Please make me free from all difficulties. Now, what is the goal of this prayer? It is not that when we become free from, all difficulties and we become safe, that we enjoy this material life. No, it is to progress in spiritual life. Bhaktivinoda Thakur continues, he says, when will this Lord Hari, whose terrible form strikes fear into fear itself, ever become pleased and show me his mercy? So here, this is such a powerful prayer to Lord Narasimhadev. We should also inculcate this type of consciousness where we can, completely surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Narasimhadev and pray to him, please, please help me to progress in my spiritual life. Not beg him for some fulfillment of material desires. No, only spiritual desires. Beg him to please make my faith more firm. Beg him to please help me remove the 6 enemies from my heart. Please help me to progress spiritually. So, pray to Lord Narasimhadev to kill the Hiranyakashipu who is within the hearts, right? The Hiranyakashipu which is within the hearts is actually personification of material desires. We have seen how the material desires, they keep coming and coming, even though some are being fulfilled, most are not being fulfilled, but then these desires keep coming. So these material desires are considered like a Hiranyakashipu within our hearts. What is the meaning of Hiranyakashipu? Hiranya means gold. Kashipu means a soft cushion or soft bed, a soft cushion for the bed. So these material desires, to enjoy this body, etc., that these desires make a person try to earn more and more, like get more earnings like gold, so that a person can enjoy material desires. But if one wants to become free from all these material desires, then the best option is to pray to Lord Narasimhadev. So, we all have heard these pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, of Hiranyakashipu and Lord Narasimhadev. We have heard it umpteen times. We have, heard in different lectures. We've read in Srimad Bhagavatam. But what do we learn from them? What do we learn from Hiranyakashipu? The things that we should not do. What do we learn from from Prahlad Maharaj? All the things that we should do. And the topmost in the list of all the things that we should do, based on Prahlad Maharaj's pastime, is preach. Preaching is very, very important. You see, it is said that Maharaj was saying that Hiranyakashipu was like a fever of meningitis in the head. Meningitis, that's a very dangerous disease. So Hiranyakashipu was like that fever of meningitis in the head. Why? Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sabsha. Ahankar vimhudatma. Ahankar. It was the pride. Hiranyakashipu was very proud of himself. He thought that he is immortal. He thought he was God. He thought he can never be killed. That ahankar, that is that ahankar that led to his death. So he, thinking himself to be God or the controller or very powerful, that itself brought fear in the hearts of the demigods, because they were aware of the power of Hiranyakashipu. But Prahlad Maharaj, the exalted devotee, he was the one who was able to bring Lord Narasimhadev to kill his own father, Hiranyakashipu. In fact, Prahlad Maharaj is such an exalted devotee that he's considered one of the 12 Mahajanas. And with full firm faith, always thinking of Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, Krishna says, Yogi namapi sarvesham madganterantar atmana. That the topmost yogi is one who is always thinking of me within his heart. And that was Prahlad Maharaj. Sarva Shreshta yogi, topmost yogi, because he was all the time thinking of the Supreme Lord. It didn't matter what was going on around him. He was completely absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Lord. That's why when he talks about, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Smaranam, so Shravanam, we relate to Parikshit Maharaj because he was hearing. Kirtanam, which means chanting, is Sukadev Goswami, who was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. And Smaranam is Prahlad Maharaj, referring to Prahlad Maharaj, who was all the time thinking of Krishna. Why is it that Srila Prabhupada, he gave us the morning program? Morning program is what gives us the spiritual strength, which is doing Mangal Aarti, doing Tulasi Puja, praying to Lord Narasimhadev, and then chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra very attentively. It's this chanting of the Mahamantra that helps us to improve, to make our faith more firm. It helps us to think of Krishna throughout the day. It's like a shield against Maya. So if we want to really progress spiritually, then attentive chanting is very, very important. If we want to become fearless, like Prahlad Maharaj, then attentive chanting is very, very important. So we see today is such an auspicious day, appearance day of Lord Narasimhadeva. It's not just about fasting today. It's not just about performing a fire sacrifice. It's not just about praying to the Supreme Lord. It's not just about, offering a big feast to the Lord. Most important is to follow the instructions given to us by the Supreme Lord. Who is Lord Narasimhadeva? He is an incarnation of Krishna. What instructions did Krishna give us in the Bhagavad Gita? Very, very simple. Satatam kirtayanto mam. See, always chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. Satatam means always, all the time, chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. Even reciting Bhagavatam is chanting. Even praying to the Lord is chanting. But we must chant our minimum 16 rounds very attentively, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we see here the beautiful form of Lord Narasimhadeva, how he protected Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, who has such wonderful qualities. Have we ever thought about those qualities of Prahlad Maharaj? His mind and senses were completely in control. He was not disturbed at all. Imagine if someone throws a poisonous snake before us, what will we do? We'll do, run around, try to save ourselves. Of course, we must protect our bodies. We must, make sure that we are not in a dangerous situation. We are not, of course, I'm talking about myself, not at that stage where be completely calm and composed. It doesn't matter what dangers come upon us, that we are undisturbed. But here we see Prahlad Maharaj, complete control over his mind and senses. He was an unalloyed devotee of the Lord, very kind, compassionate. Now, why would we say he was compassionate? Because even at the age of 5, he felt compassion for the students, for all the students who were there in his class. He felt compassionate, so he wanted to give them Krishna consciousness. He wanted to remove their ignorance. He wanted them to become self-realized. We must also show that compassion like Srila Prabhupada did for us. Out of his compassion today, we are talking about Lord Narasimhadeva. As far as I am concerned, I didn't even know who was Lord Narasimhadeva before I came to Krishna consciousness. It's by reading the purpose of Srila Prabhupada, his purpose in Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita, that all this knowledge was given to us. So Prahlad Maharaj, such wonderful quality. He had no pride. He was not proud that, oh, I am such a nice devotee. Look at me. I am preaching even to the 5-year-olds. No. And he was not envious at all. He had no material desires. He was very steady in his Krishna consciousness. He used his intelligence, to perform bhakti yoga with determination. And his faith in the Supreme Lord was unflinching. It could not be changed by anyone at all. There was no way anyone could sway his faith away and say, oh, don't worship Lord Narayana, worship this or do that. No. He had unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And that's why he is considered a Mahajana. He's a Mahatma, fully Krishna conscious, fully surrendered to the Lord, you see. And he was a great preacher. He was able to, preach to these little 5-year-olds in his class, and they all started chanting and dancing with him. Now that is the power of a pure devotee's preaching. You see, it's not that Prahlad Maharaj did not face any difficulties or any dangers. No. When we go out to preach, our difficulties and all the dangers that we face is nothing compared to what Prahlad Maharaj faced, right? He faced a lot of impediments in his spiritual life, but he had firm faith in the Lord. So when we also are, trying to spread Krishna consciousness, we will also face dangers. We will also face impediments. But if we have firm faith in Krishna, and if we preach with great devotion, if we have the consciousness that I am not the doer, but Krishna is the doer, and if we have the faith that Lord Narasimhadev will always protect me no matter what. And if we follow in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, not be disturbed by anything or by any situation, then the Lord will definitely shower his mercy. When we go out to preach, if we have firm faith that Lord Narasimhadev is there within my heart and he will protect me from all dangers, he will definitely protect. I remember hearing, if I'm not mistaken, it was His Holiness Hridayanand Maharaj. Once when he was in Atlanta, he was relating, I think so, I'm not too sure, but this is what he said. He said that in the early days, when in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, those days, he was preaching in South America. And he went out, that time he was not a sannyasi, that time he went out on the streets with other devotees chanting, chanting and dancing, doing sankirtan on the streets. And whenever they went on a particular street to chant, there was a big built man. He was really, really huge. He did not like this chanting at all. He would disturb them. He would, throw, I'm not sure if he said he would throw rotten fruits at them or whatever, but he would be very, very angry. He did not want them to come. And one day he got so angry that he came thumping, the way he walked, it felt like an elephant was thumping and coming. He was so big and well built. He came thumping, and all the devotees, they got afraid. They all got so afraid because they knew now this is the end of their lives, because this big man is going to crush them to pieces. And what did they do? They all closed their eyes, they folded their hands, and they started singing, Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadaine. And when they were singing Narasimhadev's prayer like that, what did they see? All of a sudden, they heard a big thump, boom, like that, just like something really big had banged. And when they opened their eyes, what did they see? That this big built man had slipped on a banana peel and had fallen on the concrete, and he was dead. This is how Lord Narasimhadev protected Hridayanandas Goswami Maharaj and the devotees who were actually chanting on the streets in South America. Now this, there are many instances where Lord Narasimhadev has protected. I remember even hearing one devotee was relating his experience, and he was saying that one day he was walking, it was dark, and he was walking back home, it was dark and there was no one in the street. And then all of a sudden he felt someone was following him, and he was really afraid. He just turned around and he saw that there was a man with a gun walking behind him. And he got so scared. All he could think was praying to Lord Narasimhadev. He started chanting this prayer of Lord Narasimhadev. And after a few minutes, when he turned around, there was no one in that street. That man had disappeared. That man was gone. Who protected him? Lord Narasimhadev. You see, so if we have that firm faith in the Lord, if we pray to him with full faith, with firm faith, and always thinking of the Supreme Lord, then Lord Narasimhadev, he can kill the demons which are there in our hearts. What are these demons? These are the anarthas that are there in our heart, like lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion. All these will be removed by the beautiful lotus-like nails of Lord Nrsimhadev from our hearts, and the heart will then become pure. Then the devotee will become fearless like Prahlad Maharaj. You know, every morning, I remember hearing this lecture by a Maharaj in Houston. Right now I cannot remember his name, but he made very important point. His whole lecture was about prayers, and he said that devotees are so used to, you know, singing Lord Nrsimhadev's prayer or Tulasi Aarti, but they don't focus on the words. You see, like Namaste Narasimhaya Pralada Lada Daine Hiranya Kashi Purvakshaha Shilatanka Nakhala Ito Narsimha. Right? Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimho Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha Bahe Narsimho Hirdaye Narsimho. You see, instead, sometimes devotees, they make O into A into O, and sing whatever they want. He said, no, we have to memorize the prayer very carefully and follow the prayer very carefully and not change it according to what we feel like, because the meaning also changes when we change the words. So what is Pralad Daine? Daine means someone who gives pleasure to Prahlad Maharaj, and even talks about the nails, lotus-like nails. They are like chisels on stone-like chest of Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha, right? So they are like, even though they are beautiful lotus-like nails, but it felt like chisel on stone-like chest of Hiranyakashipu. Ito Narsimho, Parato Narsimho. Here also Lord Nrsimha is there, and there also he's there. Wherever I go, he is there. He's in the heart, inside, he's outside. And I surrender unto Lord Narasimhadev. You see, so the prayer is so very powerful. When we are chanting this prayer, if we can meditate on the meaning of this prayer. Tavakara Kamala Vari Nakham Adbhuta Shringam, right? He is the origin. He's the origin of all, and he's the supreme refuge. He's assumed the form of half man, half lion, and he crushed the wasp-like demon Hiranyakashipu. He ripped apart, with his wonderful pointed nails. You see, so this prayer is very, very beautiful. So when we are chanting in the morning this prayer, if we meditate on the meaning of this prayer, that is very, very powerful. It helps us to increase our love and devotion for Lord Nrsimhadev. It increases our faith. It increases our desire to progress spiritually. So this pastime of Lord Nrsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj is so very wonderful that it is said in Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whenever he would go for darshan to Tota Gopinath temple, he would request Gadadhar Pandit to recite these pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. And in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he established the importance of hearing this pastime of Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsimhadev. You see, what is the purpose of us hearing these pastimes? So that we can remember the Lord. Man mana bhav mad bhakto, Mataji mam namaskuru. This should be our mantra for every day, that we are hearing, we are chanting, we are remembering, following the 9 processes given to us by Prahlad Maharaj. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So we see Prahlad Maharaj is an ideal example of Smaranam. Narad Muni, he says, when we read this chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam towards the end, Narad Muni says that if anyone hears about the activities of Prahlad Maharaj, anyone who hears killing of Hiranyakashipu by Lord Nrsimhadev, they surely reach the spiritual world, which is Vaikuntha. See, it's so very powerful. So today is such an auspicious day, appearance day of Lord Narasimhadeva, that gives us an opportunity, at least today, to perform this austerity, of course, of fasting. But besides that, hearing and chanting the glories of Lord Narasimhadeva, chanting our 16 rounds very attentively, at least today, if not every day. You know, Lord Narasimhadev, Maharaj was saying, Lord Narasimhadev has more than 74 forms. You know, the 9 main forms are Ugna Narasimha, Krodha Narasimha, Veera Narasimha, Vilamba Narasimha, Kopa Narasimha, Yoga Narasimha, Aghora Narasimha, Sudarshan Narasimha, and Lakshmi Narasimha. You see, these are just some of these are the main 9 forms of Lord Narasimhadev. So I'm going to end now. It's almost time. Lord Narasimhadev Bhagwan Ki Jai. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mother Gita, for such a wonderful class, and definitely picked up a lot of points from your class. And one of it I really liked is where you said that, and I wish I had the time to jot it down, Mother. Probably you can help me. Where you said that that the power of preaching in a person is to the extent they have the knowledge. I think something like that you said, Mother.
Purity.
Purity, that's right. So my question, Mother, is this: how can we develop that purity in our preaching, which is also devotional service, but how can we develop the purity, not just because we got to go out and preach, but also that we have to also be pure ourselves? You know, like they say, my dad used to always tell me, you know, clean your house before you clean your neighbor's house. So how can we develop the purity for ourselves, not just, oh, I got to go preach, so I got to go be pure, but how can we really build at, you know, develop within for ourselves?
Yes, this is very, very important. You know, of course, it doesn't mean that till we are completely pure that we should not preach. We should definitely continue preaching, but we should focus on purifying ourselves. And purity comes, Srila Prabhupada says, 99% of it depends on chanting attentively. You see, to chant attentively, to purify ourselves, we have to make a plan. It's not randomly, we don't decide, you know, oh, now it's the time for me to chant, or this is how I will. No, the planning is very important. The previous night we plan, what time am I going to wake up? Will I have enough time to, you know, perform the Mangal Aarti and then sit down to chant attentively? There has to be a spot. You can say, if of course one doesn't have medical issues, you know, cannot sit in one place. If one is able to, then one should have a sacred place to sit down and chant. Make sure, plan in such a way that there will be no disturbance, that, you know, it's not that the spouse will come and say, what's for breakfast? Or, you know, the children will come and say, you know, do this or do that. No, it has to be, the planning should be such that, you know, there will be no disturbance for 2.5 hours. Why am I saying 2.5 hours? Many times devotees say, I finish my rounds in 1.5 hours. I finish my rounds in 2 hours. But I was reading Bhakti Vinod Thakur, his, we have these readings on Saturday mornings where the God siblings come together and we read. And in that, Bhakti Vinod Thakur's timetable was given. What does he do? His plan was given. And in that, I noticed he spends 2.5 hours chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which means it has to be so focused. It cannot be Hare Krishna, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram Ram. No, that is very, very inattentive chanting, because attentive chanting means the plan should be a sacred place to sit down, proper time, you know, allotted for chanting. You know, sometimes some devotees say, oh, I'm going to chant 4 rounds in the morning. Yes, Prabhupada said you can do 4 rounds before breakfast, 4 rounds before lunch, you know, 4 rounds before dinner, etc. But this is like when there is no option for us. But we must create an option for ourselves to have this morning Brahma Muhurat time to chant attentively, because that is in a mode of pure goodness. That is when the mind is fresh. So planning is necessary. Where are we going to sit? Are we not going to be disturbed? Make sure. And then chant loud enough so that we can hear those sound vibrations. It cannot be just lip service. It has to be complete focus. So purity doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't come just like that. We have to work for it, right? Say, like Bhagavad Gita gives the example, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the example of Cheto Darpanam Marjanam, right? The mirror of the heart is very dirty because there are all those anarthas inside. Now to cleanse it, it will take time. There is dust on the mirror and I'm just, swishing a cloth on top, is the dirt going to go away? No, that is inattentive chanting. It is having maybe little dust is coming off, but to remove the complete dust from the heart, to make it pure, we have to try very hard, rub really hard to remove all that dirt, and attentive chanting does that. So we need to see preaching. Wise Prabhupada says, practice before you preach. So at least we should start the practice of attentive chanting. We may not have achieved, we may not have been successful in this endeavor, but at least we are on that path. You see? So when Krishna sees our sincere endeavors, then he helps us in purifying our hearts. So attentive chanting is the solution to purify the heart. But in the meantime, we should still preach. Does that make sense?
Yes, Mother, absolutely. Thank you so much. That helped. And it definitely goes back to chanting, as you said, that we really have to work on our chanting. And I really like that example that you shared of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That was really, really powerful. That really shows that we have to really hear ourselves as we chant, like you said. So that was really, really powerful. And I think also, not that I think, and from what you said, the chanting actually helps to help us become more internal and really be more conscious of what we are chanting, is what from what you're saying. So that was very helpful. Thank you, Mother. Thank you. Would like to ask devotees, I'm sorry that I had to add the first question. I didn't want to forget that question because I didn't write it down. But would like to ask devotees on this auspicious day, if we have any questions, any takeaways, any doubts or clarification, please do jump right in. Or you can raise your hand and we can call upon you, but you can definitely unmute yourself and go right ahead and ask your question. I'm going to try to see if I can see any hands up. I think I heard a voice. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you very much for the class. It is very enlightening, and particularly on the Narasimha Chaturdasi. I have one question. So, serving with mind, body, and words, and following all the 9 devotional methods and everything. But we are grihasthas, right? Particularly in US, it is more hectic than in India. But how do we execute, apart from chanting and doing prayers? But how do we continue our Krishna consciousness throughout the day?
Yes, Srila Prabhupada says that these 9 processes are given to us by Prahlad Maharaj, but if we can perfect even one, we will be successful. So just Shravanam. So why Shravanam given first and not Kirtanam first? Shravanam, so that we can take on the knowledge. So when we hear, then the desire to chant will develop. And when we start chanting attentively, then Smaranam will be automatic. We won't have to, working in office, oh, I forgot Krishna for the past 2 hours. Oh, let me think of Krishna now. That won't happen. It'll become automatic. The subconscious mind will, remember that Smaranam will become automatic. So we start with Shravanam, and then gradually when we start progressing, everything else will fall in place. So we don't have to, put that extra effort in, to do that. So it'll be automatic.
Okay? Thank you very much.
That was a nice question too. Really helped me too. think about that. Thank you for asking the wonderful question, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. I just want to add.
Yeah, please go ahead, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mataji. There were some senior devotees that came here, in Pittsburgh, and during the discourse, they were talking about the chanting, how to do chanting. I think they are in this Krishna consciousness for 40 years, and they hear it from their group, and they were saying that one day one devotee was chanting, and in that devotee's mind, the Krishna came, but Krishna did not look beautiful. And his flute was bent, and his cloth was rugged, and it was not nice, and his face was dull. And he was asking, "Hey Krishna, why are you looking like this?" And Krishna replied, "I am always beautiful. I am Sachidananda. I'm good. But the way that you chant makes me look like this." And that's what the devotee said. Okay, sometimes our chanting, the way we chanting, it looks like it does not give, does not make Krishna beautiful. And the devotee is advising, and we need to chant in such a way that we make Krishna look very beautiful. It was an analogy yes given.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mother, there's a question in the chat where one devotee Nupur is asking is, can you please explain the 9 steps of devotion?
Yes, so these 9 steps of devotion, they are actually the basis of our Krishna consciousness, we can say. So these 9 processes, they are, you can say, a complete package. So it starts with Shravanam, which means hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord, and Kirtanam is chanting the holy names like we chant every day, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Kirtanam also means, the kirtan that we do in the temples, or, reciting the Vedic scriptures. So Kirtanam, then there is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Smaranam, as I was explaining, is remembering the Supreme Lord, which actually becomes automatic when we are, hearing attentively and we are chanting attentively. And then when that happens, then there is Pada Sevanam, which means serving the lotus feet of the Lord. That, of course, one can do in the house, at home also, the home temple, where, we do the Abhishek of the Lord, we dress the Lord, we do the Arati of the Lord. In the temples also, the lotus feet of the Lord is worshipped by different, paraphernalia. So this is what one can do, Pada Sevanam. Then Archanam is offering worship, so all the different items, paraphernalia that are offered in the Aarti, like the incense, the ghee lamp, flowers, water, napkin, all these, Chamara and peacock feather fan, etc. Then Vandanam is offering prayers. Just like Srila Prabhupada says that when we chant the Maha Mantra, that is actually offering a prayer to the Lord. What is that prayer? That prayer is that, "Oh my dear Lord, please engage me in your service." So in other words, begging for devotional service. So that is Vandanam, offering prayers. And of course, we offer prayers like we do Tulasi Puja, we do Lord Narasimhadev's prayer. So those are also prayers, offering prayers. Now, Dasyam. Dasyam means becoming a servant of the Lord. Dasyam means a servant, becoming a servant of the Lord. Oh, excuse me. So, in other words, just like Bhagavad Gita teaches us that we are eternal servants of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, Krishnera Nitya Das. Nitya means eternal. We are eternal servants. So having that consciousness that Krishna is a supreme controller and I'm just a dasya, which means I am a servant of the Lord. Now, Sakyam is having the consciousness or the feeling or emotions of being a friend of the Lord, just like Arjuna was the Sakha, was the friend of the Lord. So that is one way. Then the topmost of these 9 processes is Atma Nivedana, which means surrendering oneself completely. which means worshipping the Supreme Lord with words, mind, and body. There is a nice example given in Srimad Bhagavatam about Atma Nivedana, and that is Ambarish Maharaj. What did Ambarish Maharaj do? He engaged all his senses in worshipping the Lord, with eyes seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, with ears hearing the glories of the Lord, with the tongue chanting the glories of the Lord, with his hands, cleaning the temple of the Lord, with his legs, walking to the temple. So there was complete surrender. He used every part of his body in surrendering, in worshiping the Supreme Lord. So that's Atma Nivedana. So these are the 9 processes given to us by Prahlad Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada says that one can follow any one of them, or one just by following the first one, which is Shravanam, hearing, one will automatically start progressing towards the other 8 processes. So these are the 9 processes which Prahlad Maharaj says, if one is able to, accept these 9 processes as pure devotional service, and if one has dedicated one's life towards these 9 processes, towards the service of Krishna, through these 9 methods of devotional service, then Prahlad Maharaj says, then that person is considered to be a most learned person, for someone who has acquired complete knowledge. You see, knowledge we cannot get just by reading or hearing. We have to have the mercy of the Supreme Lord. It's only when Krishna bestows his mercy that we can understand knowledge about him. Like he says, Tesham satatayutanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam. Buddhi means intelligence. Only when we worship him with love and devotion, he gives us the buddhi, the intelligence by which we can understand him. So the first step is Shravanam, which is hearing. I know it was a very long answer, but I hope it helped. Hearing is also hearing of pastimes of the Lord, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that beautiful comment, Prabhu.
That was a nice comment, Radhapad Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yes, hearing, absolutely hearing the glories of the Lord and associating, because like we've heard in classes so many times, Mother Gita, that you've also said it, when we have Bhagavatam classes, we are actually associating with the Lord and hearing at the same time. That's really powerful. Thank you so much.
Yes, Mataji, thank you very much. You have very beautiful lecture, very, very nice lecture, Mataji, in this morning. Very much. I'm really very much, I feel like crying. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Jai Ho.
Thank you.
Jai Ho.
Are there any other questions from devotees before we end this beautiful, nice, beautiful, meditative class on a perfect day of Lord, on the appearance of Lord Narasimhadeva? Anyone else would like to say something, would like to share, ask a question or doubt, please do jump right in. I'm just going to make sure that I don't miss anyone here. Okay. Yes, Brother Prabhu, go ahead.
Mataji, yes. All good, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mother Gita, for such a beautiful class, and really going to make me think definitely on the purity part, which I know I've heard from my spiritual master a million times, that we have to be pure, and that on the attentive chanting. And we also hope that devotees will take something from this class and meditate on it throughout the day. When we come together this evening for our Nrsimha Chaturdasi program. Until then, Vanchakaptibhyascha Kripasindhabevacha Patitanam Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Wishing everyone a happy Nrsimha Chaturdasi.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.